and also via our iPhone and Android apps. Always on air for you 24/7, 365, uniting all communities. Salaam Radio is all about creating unity within the Muslim and wider community, delivering the positive message of true Islam and promoting peace and harmony. Please make sure you follow us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel. As usual, you can get involved in the show today via WhatsApp on 07745 278 978. Call us on 01733 602 133 or send us a Facebook Live message. Now, just in case you're wondering, Brother Amir can't be with us tonight. I'll be filling in for him with Brother Faisal, inshallah. Now, if you've been following our WhatsApp, Facebook and Instagram updates, you will know that today we will have with us Dawud Wharnsby, Skyping live from Canada, inshallah. And those of you who know Dawud Wharnsby, born as David Howard Wharnsby in Canada, a Muslim singer-songwriter, poet, performer, educator and television personality, a multi-instrumentalist. He is best known for his work in the musical and poetic genre of English language nasheed and spoken word. Now, Dawud is one of my favorite singer-songwriters, to the extent that he has actually influenced my own songwriting. Dawud Wharnsby is a name which many will recognize. He has touched the hearts of many around the world with his nasheeds. Now, before we welcome Dawud on the show, we're going to listen to one of his latest songs. And this is a song which is a favorite of mine.
Stars tonight. This cannot be quantified. Open wide and taste the light. Lay your cheek against the song. Let it hold you firm and strong, ringing like a carillon. Your cheek against the song. Feel the heartbeat of the drum. Long ago this was begun. We are old who once were young. Feel the heartbeat of the drum. Drink the notes like drops of wine. Warming spirits, slowing time. Winding like an arbor vine. Drink the notes like drops of wine. kindred spirits gathered near. On my cheek a sacred tear, standing in this circle here. Open wide and taste the light, falling from the stars tonight. This cannot be quantified. Open wide and taste the light.
Assalamu alaikum listeners, welcome to Salaam Radio 106.2 FM, and if you've just joined us or you've been listening to that song, that was a marvellous song by brother Dawud Wharnsby, who is actually going to join us very shortly on the show via Skype. If you have just tuned in, then my name is Tokir Sethi and I'm going to be hosting the show today, inshallah, with Brother Faisal. Brother Emma can't be with us today. How are you doing, Brother Faisal?
Alhamdulillah, I'm good. How's your week?
Alhamdulillah, it's very good. How about yourself?
Yeah, what's it like sitting on the other side of the desk? It's hard, isn't it?
It's a little bit nerve-wracking, yeah, alhamdulillah, but it's okay. Yeah. So for the listeners who don't know, I usually sit on the other side of the desk where I don't have to handle any of the controls, but every day is a learning day.
Alhamdulillah.
I just gave a brief introduction about Dawud Wharnsby. He's a singer-songwriter who's been an amazing inspiration to me, and we've actually managed to get him on Salaam Radio today.
It's a great honour.
It is, absolutely. We're really pleased. So we're just going to welcome him on the show now. Assalamu alaikum, Dawud Wharnsby.
Wa alaikum salam, Brother Taqir. How are you doing, my friend?
Alhamdulillah, how are you?
I'm very well. Thank you so much. Alhamdulillah.
No, thank you very much for joining us. How long has it been since we've spoken?
It's been, I think, a while.
I think it's probably about, is it nearly 2 years now, maybe?
Living Islam?
Living Islam, yeah.
It's a couple of years ago.
It's got to be a couple of years, I think. Yeah, my apologies for that.
No problem at all. Alhamdulillah, we know you're a busy man.
I went on my Skype today and I saw some messages from you that I had neglected to respond to. I'm so sorry.
No, not a problem at all, inshallah. We're so happy that you could be with us today.
Well, it's an honor to be here. And, you know, I have to just mention as well, thank you so much for playing that song, Taste the Light. You know, I should clarify, though, it is actually a group that I'm with in that song called the Abraham Jam. And it was written by, and the lead singer is actually David Lamott, a dear friend of mine from the U.S. So the three of us are in that band, Abraham Jam, together, and that's one of our a recent live recording we did. So I was really excited when I heard you play that.
Oh, wow.
It's very interesting because I'm used to listening to your old songs, you know, where they're more targeted towards children. And we play them a lot on the radio. Yeah. But this is very nice. Yeah, it's different, and I think the lyrics are great.
Yeah, and I was reading about Abraham Jam earlier on, actually, and I know that you posted about it previously. But we'll be touching on Abraham Jam, inshallah, very shortly in the show. So, Brother Faisal and myself, we're just going to be talking to you about your career to date and letting the listeners know about your musical journey, inshallah. So we're going to kick off. Now, we know that you've been a creative since your teens, working as an actor, a poet, and what people around the world know you most as, a singer-songwriter. So what inspired and motivated you to the creative arts?
Oh, goodness. You know, a dear friend of mine, also a musician, Idris Phillips, he once said to me, you know, people don't choose to be musicians. Music chooses them. And I think whatever form of expression, you know, people use to express who they are or express or share their story, I really believe that. It's something that you don't choose to do it. It's something you need to do. And ever since I was a little kid, since childhood, I've always been I was always really fascinated by play acting and drawing and music and singing and dancing, even when breakdancing was trendy at its peak back in the 80s. So it's just a part of, it's been a part of me since I was a child. And I think if we look back thousands of years, people have always felt the need to express themselves, to share their stories, whether it's cave drawings or just all the forms of folk art that we see around the world. People, in our effort to deal with our mundane lives, there's a desire to sort of beautify the things that we do, and that's whether it's making a teacup that's beautiful, or a rug that's beautiful, or a pillow that's beautiful, or a lullaby that's beautiful. It's just something that's always been inside of me.
Wow. I mean, I suppose that's quite an interesting answer, because music creativity is really quite innate in us. So whether we choose to express it or not, it's there, isn't it? We all have it inside us, and obviously you've chosen to make a career out of it. Alhamdulillah.
And I think it's all about how we perceive what is creative. I mean, I meet people who are computer programmers and they say, "Oh, I'm not creative." I say,
"Yes, you are."
Programmer, that's very creative. I think it starts with just encouraging our children to look at the world with a keen eye of wanting to learn. As you said, it's sitting on the other side of the desk for a change. It's a new perspective that we should always be trying to find in life, and that's how we begin the creative process, I think.
Absolutely. Now, in 1993, you embraced Islam. How did this impact on your creativity, if at all?
Oh, how did it impact? Well, I think, can you hear me all right?
Yes, definitely, we can hear you.
Oh, good. Well, I mean, first and foremost, I should say that I consider myself very much a universalist, and what I mean by that is that I really believe that all faith traditions are rooted in the same essence, and that they have the potential to guide us in our lives. But indeed, for me, I personally chose to adopt the Quran as my primary discipline when I was about 21, mainly because so much of what I already believed and felt was contained therein. So me adopting the teachings of the Quran to my life didn't really change my creativity at all. I already had a twisted way of looking at the world, and the Quran just helped me hone that a little bit. But what did change in me, I think, was that by coming in contact with the Muslim community, which, as we know, is a global community. It's not rooted in a specific culture or nationality. So that to me opened me up to learning a lot about other cultures and traditions that I wouldn't have learned about had I not gone to the mosque. So, I was 21, but before I ever ate curry, and I was, I'd never eaten falafel, and I had never, I wasn't aware of so much of the richness of culture that had stemmed from so many different countries and places around the world where Islam was the primary, kind of faith of the people. So I think that helped me grow in a lot of ways. It helped me, as I say, eat new foods. It helped me learn new languages. It helped me learn new music. And I think another thing that really changed in me was after embracing the Quran, I was able to see through the lens of the Quran and through the lens of Muslim history, I was able to re-examine my own craft of music. I had no idea up until the time that I discovered the Quran and Muslim history that the very guitar I played stemmed from Muslim Spain, and that the banjo that I played stemmed from West Africa. That the notes I used to learn in choir as a child, do re mi fa sol la ti do, came from the Arabic alphabet. So it was almost as if God had brought me through the Quran in contact with the Muslim world and Muslim history to be able to shift the paradigm of how I even saw my own modern day interpretations of music. So it was a really enriching experience in that way.
Wow. And I wanted to ask you this question really because I knew how you were going to answer it. Because I wanted to share this with the listeners, you see, about how really you, and what you're saying is you had all those human values even before you came to Islam. And I think that's quite an important piece to share with people. But over to you, Brother Faisal.
Yeah. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Dawud.
It's Faisal, is it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, we did meet briefly a couple of times, I think. Once in Leicester.
I think in Leicester just a year ago, yeah.
Okay.
A year ago, yeah. It's great to have you on the show, by the way. And just to go on to a slightly different topic, if I'm not wrong, you've written 11 albums, and in addition to this amazing achievement, released singles, and EPs since 1995. You've also been named as one of 500 most influential Muslims in the world. This is a great, fantastic achievement, and many people look to you for inspiration. What would you say has been the pinnacle of your career to date?
Oh, goodness me. Well, first I should say, with regards to the Muslim 500, that's a pretty interesting list. There are a lot of dictators on that list and leaders of countries with gross human rights violations against them. I don't give a lot of credence to things that come out of universities in terms of think tank studies like that. I think every year I meet thousands, literally thousands of Muslims in the world and people of all faiths who are incredibly influential in their own communities. I mean, there's a fellow I know in England, his name is Taqir. He's a musician, he's a writer, he's a father, he's a husband, he hosts a radio program. Oh, it might even be you, Taqir.
I was thinking, who's he talking about?
Yeah, it's you. There are so many people I meet, who are influential in incredible ways. We often give awards to the greatest teachers and the greatest philanthropists, but we don't give awards to the greatest, primary school custodian or the greatest garbage collector or the greatest, office secretary. But if we didn't have those secretaries and garbage collectors and custodians, our schools, our businesses, and our cities would shut down, literally. So I think that needs to be said, first of all, because it's just the reality of how I see the world. And I think with regards to my career, if you visit my website, I have a little website there that I blog and write on sometimes. And there's a little bio there I've written which says that what is my career? My career is to try to keep balance in life, to try to keep learning, to try to avoid wastefulness, to try to just be a good father and community member. And all of those things inspire me to write. And when I'm asked to share those songs, I do. But if people stopped calling me to sing, there's a heck of a lot of other things I need to get to as well. So the pinnacle of my career of trying to keep balance in life, I think would be my daughters. When I see my daughters at the ages of 7 and 10 now, when I see them make decisions in life with hikmah, when I see them really use wisdom to make decisions in their life, I'm really grateful and blessed and humbled. Those are the pinnacles of my life. As far as music goes, it's a means to an end for me. I often tell people I write because I can't afford a therapist. It's not that I'm not proud of the music that I've written. It's just I write it, I put it out there, and if it can mean something to someone, then I'm really pleased. I think the project I'm most happy with, that I feel really reflects who I am, was a book I did for children called A Picnic of Poems. Okay. When I finished that project, I said to my wife, okay, if I die now, I think I've said all I need to say. For my great-grandchildren, for them to learn what their great-grandfather was about, they would just need to read that book. And I think that was kind of that's what that project meant to me. So it's not to say that I won't keep writing, but as I keep learning and if there's something that needs to be said, I will keep writing. But that project really summed up my life in many ways. So.
Excellent.
Thank you for the question.
You very much. Now, moving on from that, something that is profoundly different about your work is that you are an independent artist, and this is something that I really, really respect. So you're not associated to any record labels, you're not signed to any record labels, and with the music industry growing at the speed that it is these days, how have you managed to promote your content over the years? I mean, has this been a challenge?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because the music, commercial music, business and the commercial music industry, it's interesting. It's spreading rapidly, but I wouldn't say it's hard to say, is it growing or is it shrinking? Because so many record labels and studios have gone bankrupt over the last 15, 20 years because of the fact that independent artists are able to manage their own music. When I started producing music at 17, 18 years old, there were several recording studios in my hometown, and it was really hard to produce an album or a CD because it was so expensive. We would just have to record them at home and duplicate them on our own little cassette tapes. But now, with technology being what it is, and the fact that you can record an entire album on a laptop, you don't need those middlemen and women anymore. You don't need the big studios. You don't need the huge labels. You can really do a lot of it yourself. So in many ways, it's shrunk, and in many ways, it's also broadened the accessibility for artists. With regards to myself, I'm a bit of I've had other Muslim artists tell me that I'm a pretty confused individual anyway. Because I shoot myself in the foot so much, I don't really promote my work. I recorded 20 years ago with an organization like Sound Vision, primarily because they were focused on educational materials, and I felt that was the best way to access parents and teachers with my songs. But since Sound Vision, has become more of an information dissemination website and isn't really in the game of promoting music and so forth anymore, I've maintained some independence, and I don't really hit the pavement trying to sell my music, if you will. I have different book deals with Q Publishing and with certain companies that have some of my songs and distribute them, but that's their business. Whatever they want to do with it, I'm happy to see them do. I don't really even care if people buy my music. I think if they use it and listen to it and it inspires them to write their own, then great. But when I do shows, I don't even tell people, hey, buy my album at the back of the room, because it's just not part of who I am. I figure if people want it, they'll find it, they'll seek it out, and I'm happy to. I give away more CDs than I sell, I think.
You basically do it as a passion rather than a business or anything like that. That's the way it seems. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it seems that way. I am a commercial. I am commercial in the sense that I'm a professional musician. I travel, I perform, and I'm paid. So I can't claim.
Don't push it, yeah.
Yeah, I can't claim that I'm not doing it as a profession. That would be a lie. Mm-hmm. But I would say that that somehow I make my livelihood out of singing songs to families and people and hope that they'll be generous to help me buy milk for my children. That's so far so good, I don't know. If that doesn't happen anymore, I'll go mow lawns, inshallah. I like cutting grass, and I do that once in a while for people. So
wow. So I mean, it must be difficult because these days everybody is so much into promoting their music. Everybody is constantly sharing on social media.
Especially with social media.
Yeah. And which actually brings me on to the next question, because there's something I've learned about you over the last few years, is that you don't have a smartphone. And I think the last time I met you, I said, I think I need to buy you a phone, if you remember. So when you're here next time, inshallah, in the UK. And so I don't believe you use emails as well. And in fact, actually, your website, as I was reading today, states that you prefer a method of communication which is via letter. So putting a stamp on an envelope and posting it out to you. And so tell me more about this. How do you live in the world of social media and not be part of it?
That's amazing. To be able to do that.
I rate you for it.
Yeah, I mean, I do have a website. I do have a Facebook page. I'm using my computer to speak to you now, but no, I don't use email. There are certain jobs I do locally here. I do some work for children in schools surrounding disability awareness, and I use as a puppeteer. So I go out into schools and use puppetry. I do some volunteering locally here in my hometown with seniors by performing music for them. I work with individuals with disabilities sometimes. So those people in those offices, do send me things by email, but I don't correspond with by email. I don't use email regularly. I don't have a cell phone or a mobile phone. And it works well for me. I think it enables me to just be really much more in the moment. It often scares other people more than me. When I show up somewhere for, when I'm hosted at an event, people will say, well, how will we know when you land at the airport? But just show up, I'll be there. I mean, just trust me. It worked for so many years. So it's a reminder, I think, to myself that to stay in the moment, and it enables me to get a lot more work done when I'm not constantly just texting and tweeting about the work I want to do or that sort of thing. It's my personal preference for me, but yeah, it is difficult for other people to understand how and why I work that way. In terms of the letters, I've had people meet me at events and say, I went to your website and it said that I should write you a letter, like I'm going to write you a letter and send it to you. I said, well, then, you don't expect to get in touch with me then. But there are people who regularly write me.
Sorry to cut you off, brother. We're just coming up to an ad break. We'll continue. Hold your thoughts. Don't go anywhere.
We'll be back after the ad break, inshallah.
4 minutes, inshallah.
Stay tuned to Salaam Radio after this short ad break.
Salaam Radio presents a very special event, the recitation of the Quran, featuring world-renowned Sheikh Abu Bakr Al-Shatri, 5 p.m. on Saturday the 27th of January at the Gladstone Park Community Centre, PE1 2AN. Come along and support Human Appeal to help our brothers and sisters in Yemen and listen to melodious Quran recitations from Sheikh Abu Bakr Al-Shatri and 3 accomplished and up-and-coming qaris from around the UK. Also, a reminder from Sheikh Mahmoud Hassan Kohli. Tickets are only £5 and available from 07866 319 679 or info@salamradio.co.uk. 5 p.m. Saturday the 27th of January at Gladstone Park Community Centre. Please help support our desperate brothers and sisters in Yemen.
Sadly, millions of orphans living in the poorest countries lack the necessary support for a healthy childhood. These children have to endure lives of hardship without the basic necessities that will help them to grow, to learn, to live. Let's show them that we do care. Let's brighten up their future. Call 0161 225 0225 or visit humanappeal.org.uk.
Third world and developing countries are home to some of the most vulnerable children on the planet. Malnutrition, severe lack of medical aid and access to clean water are just some of the horrific challenges faced by orphans across Africa and Asia. Children of Adam, a Peterborough charity, need your help to bring aid to these orphans for just £25 a month. To sponsor an orphan or assist with other projects, please call 0300 321 0032 or visit www.childrenofadam.net.
Do you own a restaurant or takeaway? Cater Fair is an expert supplier of new and used commercial catering equipment. Visit caterfair.co.uk for quality equipment on sale at the lowest prices, or call us on 01733 310 115 or visit us at 11 Royce Road, Fengate, Peterborough.
Need a great place to chill out? Look no further than The Lounge for quality food and drinks at a great price. Try our varied menu: pasta, seafood, burgers, grills, salad, soup, rice and sides. Also hot and cold drinks, milkshakes and mocktails. Leave room for our exquisite desserts. The Lounge, 417 Lincoln Road, Peterborough. Call 01733 709 306 to order for delivery. The Lounge, friendly service with a great atmosphere.
The messenger of God, peace be upon him, said, I am like a man who kindled a fire, and when it lit up the place, the moths and the creeping insects began to fall into it. He tried to prevent them, but they got the better of him and rushed into it. You and I are like that. I am seizing your girdles to pull you away from the hellfire. Come away from the fire. Come away from the fire. But you are getting the better of me and rushing into it.
Narrated by Abu Huraira in the collections of Bukhari and Muslim.
This is Salaam Radio, Peterborough's Muslim community radio. Broadcasting on 106.2 FM and online.
Assalamu alaikum listeners, welcome back. This is Salaam Radio 106.2 FM. And if you've only just joined us, you will have to rewind back on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, because you have missed out on listening to Brother Dawud Wharnsby, who has Skyped in all the way from Canada. And we were just talking about how he doesn't use a mobile phone.
That's amazing, isn't it?
It is. And now he doesn't use emails very often.
Obviously he's using his laptop too.
He's using his laptop, and he's obviously Skyping us.
Yeah.
He does use technology, but I have a lot of respect for him for keeping away from the mobile phone, because it's something that my wife does nag me on quite occasionally, on different occasions. So Assalamu alaikum, Brother Dawud, and welcome back.
Welcome, wa alaikum salam, and thank you for having me back. Welcome to you too.
Okay, I'll kick it off now. So we know that you support a school in Pakistan, and you often travel and live there for some months of the year. How does your music and creativity help you support the school?
Well, I mentioned a little earlier on in the discussion that I don't really get out there and kind of promote my songs and music. I mean, I make them accessible to people, as I try to make myself accessible to people. I might not use phones and emails, but when people write me letters, I do respond. Sometimes
That's the way to do it.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. It's that technology of the pen, you know. It's the music that I've put out there. Right when I started, I think when I started writing the spiritual hymns for children back in the 90s, I had been playing music for a few years already at that time, and I wasn't, the idea of commercial music was never really in my blood. I was really influenced by musicians and writers who were really carriers of the tradition of community song and community music which to promote social change and social activism. That was kind of where my heart was. So when I started playing music and found that it wasn't 1965 anymore, and there weren't a lot of musicians who really felt that way about music, I was really disillusioned and wasn't too keen on pursuing music as a career. So when I began to write the spiritual hymns for children within the Muslim community, in order to make sure that I wasn't, getting carried away with my ego or anything like that, right from the initial, onset, I made the intention to myself that if any good was to come of these songs, if they were to be able to travel around, and if there was to be anything financial that would return from the songs being accessible to people, that I would put that money into a trust fund for education for children. A long time ago, I really gave up on adults changing the world. I think many of us are so messed up as adults that I don't have a lot of hope for adults, but I have a lot of hope for children and for the generations that come after us. And to me, I felt that that's why it was important to write the songs for Muslim children, was to really help them have a way of learning about their faith, which would inspire them to really make change in the world. So since those days, any of the royalties that have come in from recordings like A Whisper of Peace and Colors of Islam, and
they're amazing songs,
and they continue to sell online. Those are devoted to a trust fund which supports a school in Pakistan that my wife's grandmother started about 25 years ago. And if you do visit my website, Wharnsby.com, there is a heading up there called School Project, which talks a little bit about the school. There are some NPR, National Public Radio, interviews with my wife's grandmother and with my wife. There are some videos that she's done to talk about the school and the work of the school. So we support the school each year with royalties that come in from the songs. And then on top of that, in order to kind of keep a balance, when I perform publicly, I always tell people and tell my hosts that any income I receive from performances, live performance, are split three ways. That one portion goes towards the school, one portion is fixed and goes towards my continued work and recording and so forth, and the other portion towards my family. So in this way, I think I really try to make the work that I do musically out in the public kind of a waqf and a trust for something that can be a little bit more important in the lives of some children in Pakistan, where I live for a few months of the year.
MashaAllah. And that's excellent, really, because like you say, we often try and get the attention of adults and try and adults to change the world. But actually, if you raise your children properly in this world, then that work is almost done for you in the future, isn't it? Inshallah. So that's amazing. There's
a lot of hope in that way. When I meet parents who are in their 30s who say, you performed at my school when I was 13, and now I've got, an 8-year-old or a 6-year-old or whatever. It's incredible to have been able to share that journey with them. And when they say, what are you doing now? We don't hear from you. I'll say, no, I'm still keeping busy, and the songs are still out there, and they're still benefiting, and it's not a question of charity. This isn't, I don't consider this philanthropy or anything. This is a part of the balance. It's like when people say, oh, he's a good Muslim. He or she, they pray their prayers. Well, that doesn't make you a good Muslim. That's the basic, We have to basically turn to God. So I think that trying to use this model for my musical work is just it's a way to keep the balance. Because when I go and perform on a weekend, the amount of money I earn and from very generous nonprofit community groups and grassroots organizations, that's a slap in the face to the man who collects my rubbish every week, and what he has to do in the snow for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week collecting rubbish. It's not right that I can go out as a performer and have my expenses paid and sing for an audience for 45 music and then come home and buy a new cell phone or whatever. So for me, it's about trying to keep the balance and about being responsible with the path that God has helped me forge. That's kind of what the school is about, is trying to help keep a balance, inshallah.
Fantastic.
I think it's a wonderful message to share with our listeners. Now, I've got a little joke for everybody, including the listeners and Brother Dawud. A Muslim, a Jew, and a Christian walk into a concert hall. What do you get? Tell us about Abraham Jam, Dawud.
I thought, where's he going with this? On live
radio, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Well, as long as the Muslim, the Jew, and the Christian don't walk into a bar. The Abraham Jam started about 6 years ago, actually, as a brainchild of a dear friend of mine, David Lamott. He is a musician from North Carolina, and he was asked to organize a performance at a university in North Carolina and was told, we want to have you as a Christian, we want to have a Muslim performer and a Jewish performer. Can you make it happen? So he went to the Jewish Student Union and he went to the Muslim Students Associations and he said, if you could bring anybody in to sing for you from your own community, who would it be? And of course, Yusuf Islam wasn't available, so they asked me. No, I'm just kidding. But they wanted Bob Dylan and Yusuf Islam, and he said, well, that's not going to happen. So what's next down on the food chain? They said Billy Jonas and David Wharnsby. So Abraham Jam started as a way of not just trying to be a musical interfaith kind of act where each of us stands up there and sings our song from our respective traditions, but we really wanted to push the envelope further and to show people what would happen if three people of these Abrahamic traditions actually made music together. That we love each other. We are brothers and we are friends, and as musicians and all of us being social activists, to be able to stand on a stage together as brothers and back each other up and create music together has been a wonderful experience. This year, last year, 2017, things really took off, and we are now working on a live DVD. We're working on an album. We've got shows lined up right into next autumn, actually, autumn 2018. So it seems to be the new incarnation of our lives. David Lamott has been a musician, and Billy Jonas and myself. All of us have been doing what we've been doing for the past 20 to 25 years. We've cumulatively we've performed about 3,500 performances. Each of us averages about 100 performances a year. We've each recorded many albums, and we've all kind of hit a point in our lives where we need to take the next step of building bridges, which is not just hosting a nice dinner and inviting people from each faith community to talk about who they are, but we want to show people what it feels like and what it looks like to do something together and to create beauty together. So that's kind of what Abraham Jam is all about.
I mean, that is fantastic, because a lot of people, I think, would look at that and say, this is a great way for the three faiths to come together. And because if we look at the news, I'm not going to talk politics now, but there's a lot of negativity always associated around religion and politics, and this is a brilliant way of doing it. So just to kind of like delve into that a little bit more, Abraham Jam. So when we're talking about the jam, we're not referring to what we spread on our toast, but we're talking about the collective kind of playing a musical instrument and singing and jamming.
Absolutely. Mind you, we have, David and Billy and I have all talked about having some sort of jam, bumbleberry jam made that we can distribute at our shows to people. But definitely we're talking about the musical collaboration. And as jam is very sweet and full of different berries from different trees, that's kind of what we are. And we often talk in our respective communities, the Jewish community, the Christian community, the Muslim community. We're always talking about unity, unity, unity. What we forget is that one unison voice or many people singing in unison is really nice, but it's also really beautiful to have harmony. When you have three different people singing three different parts that work together to create a beautiful sound. And that's what I think we're really trying to show is a sense of harmony working together. For example, we do a version of Ta'ala al-Badru Alayna where in the middle of the nasheed, we have, Billy reciting Hebrew over top of my Arabic, and it's this blend of, and then you realize that when the Prophet ﷺ would have come to Medina, to Yathrib, the leaders of the communities traditionally in those days would welcome the newcomer to the city, and we have to remember there were Jewish tribes, Christian tribes, pagan tribes, and they all wanted him to be there to bring peace to their community. So when you look at the words to Ta'ala al-Badru Alayna, you hear nothing about the prophethood of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You hear nothing about Quran. You hear nothing about Moses or Jesus. All you hear is when someone calls you to God, it's obligatory upon you to be thankful. So that thankfulness and that unity of thankfulness is what I think we're really trying to present with something like Abraham Jam.
Brilliant. A question that we ask all artists. I don't really like using this term anymore. I think
after Raif being on the show last time.
Yeah. So I'm going to read it as we do it anyway. But so the nasheed industry, that's the term I don't like. Or should I say the faith-inspired creative industry has grown over the last 20 years. What do you think about this industry and what direction should it take?
I think it's the word industry.
I don't like that.
I'm glad to hear that you don't like it because 10 years ago everybody loved it. And I'm also really glad to hear that Raif, who's a dear friend of mine, was also give you a hard time about it because Raif has been he's a dear young brother. Raif first wrote to me when he was still in high school. And he was doing a project on vocal music and singing, and we did an interview. He was only 17, 18 at the time. And I've had the joy and the honor of being with him over the last many, many years. Now he's, of course, a father and a very established artist. But one of the things that Raif has really successfully been able to do is to help change that industry. He's been able to use the aspects of commercial music and the idea of having a label and signing on with a major music label within a niche of commercial music, Awakenings. But he's been able to secure an incredible amount of creative freedom, and that happened in the secular industry, music industry as well. That it took decades for artists, to be able to get in the studio and say to the executives, "Leave me alone and let me create. I know what I'm doing. I'm the artist." And Raif has been one of those artists now who's been able to bring the two worlds together to say, "Look, we can have commercial music, we can have record labels, but you know what? I'm going to sit on the hood of my truck on the album cover because that's my truck."
Absolutely. I love that truck.
I don't want to create a fake name for myself or a moniker. I want to use my own name. And so I really love Raif. I'm really proud of what he's done. And in terms of, the question and you asking me the question, it's funny because to me, you asking me that question is like asking a farmer what they think of McDonald's.
It is. Like that's why I don't like asking it anymore.
We should change that. I think we should change that question next time, inshallah.
It's good. It's a good question to ask. But I've never seen myself as a part of the Muslim pop industry, if you will. From the early days when I started recording in Nasheed, I wouldn't even, for the first 2 years, that I was releasing albums like Whisper of Peace and Colors of Islam, I didn't even perform live because I didn't want me to be up in front of an audience and send a message that this is what music is all about. It's about a performer on a stage, because that wasn't part of my musical tradition, and I don't believe it's part of the Muslim musical tradition. Our Muslim musical tradition, dating back 1400 years, is one of communal song. We sing together. So I reluctantly began performing again because various friends and imams were saying to me, "Look, this is going to happen with or without you. This industry is the clogs have started turning. So if you don't stay accessible to people, then the only image of music that young Muslims are going to see is the commercial pop Muslim singer." So at the very least, I think that I'm more of an organic farmer and I'm more of an organic songwriter. I don't record music videos. I don't work with a label, as you mentioned. So I'm kind of out of that scene. Farmers grow the food. What McDonald's chooses to, how McDonald's chooses to market those potatoes or flash freeze them or whatever they do, that's the machine's issue. But I just stick to my gardening and my farming and my writing and allow that. There's no doubt that, McDonald's satisfies people who have fast lives. They need fast food. They have disposable income, and the food of McDonald's, it passes all of the criteria necessary to be consumptionable. It won't kill you if you eat it.
Borderline.
The same goes for the Muslim nasheed, pop music. It won't kill you. It's probably better than other music that's on the radio. It's fast food. It's fast music for fast people with fast lives who are hungry, who want to just put something in their stomach to feel a sense of fulfillment. So I don't mean that to diss it. I just think that's the nature of what it is. And my hope is that young people, young Muslims who do feel a sense of creative, they want to create, they want to express themselves, that they won't just look at the mainstream Muslim pop music and say, oh, that's the only route I have to go. Because there are many other routes to go. There's music therapy. There's folk music. There's music for children. There's music for every occasion. There's so many different ways that we can express ourselves musically. It doesn't just have to be with a music video, in the way that we see, being the predominant means of musical expression, in pop culture today.
Wow, brilliant! So, in summary, you haven't really actively promoted your music. You've written it as you've seen fit. You haven't signed with a record label, and you haven't really wanted to go out there and promote and sell and be famous and make loads of money from it and have lots of disposable income. However, people around the world have got to know you and have got to know your name. And as we mentioned earlier, many young budding creatives from around the world look to you for inspiration. And I'm going to say this on air, I have been inspired by your music.
Others have as well.
Yeah, a lot of people have. Yeah. I put the post on earlier on today and I said, Dawud, Wharnsby, Salaam Radio today, 9 o'clock. And a few people said, oh, is he here in the UK? And I said, and I put up a sad face saying, unfortunately not. So, so even though you say all this, Dawud, people around the world know you and they love and enjoy your music. So to those budding creatives, to those budding artists who want to learn to play a musical instrument, who want to learn to draw, who want to express themselves and feel like they have a message that they can share to the world, what would you say to them, or what would you say to your younger self?
Wow. Well, Raif even said this to me when he and I were on tour many years ago, before he did his first album. I gave him my advice, and he said, but Dawud, that's easy for you to say because you've already done all these albums and you've got this history behind you. So, but that's just, I think the point is that the one album is not the end of the road. It's a whole passion. It's a whole need that a person has to express. And my first CD, I thought when I released Whisper of Peace that I would get chased out of the mosque and I'd be living in a cave somewhere, with death threats on my head. But I didn't know what was going to happen, and it grows. I think that for any young person or old person out there right now of any age who feels that they have something that they could share with others. If you've got a lullaby that you wrote for your children and they love when you sing them that lullaby and you think, maybe other children might benefit from this lullaby, then record the lullaby and don't hesitate. Just keep on writing, keep learning, keep practicing, keep growing. Get a good teacher to teach you how to play that instrument, that duff or that guitar or that voice that you have. Take some vocal lessons, join a choir, join a drum circle, keep on doing it. If you're not doing it for a few hours a day, 1 hour a day, 2 hours, then you're not putting enough time and love into it. So keep doing it and stay grounded in your life. Let the life you live inspire the stories that you write, the paintings that you make, the songs that you pen. Just basically keep doing it. When I was 17, 18 years old, I just wrote my poetry and took it to the library and photocopied it and made books and gave them out to my friends and went on street corners and sang my songs, you know. And as I always tell the story, that sometimes people would walk by me and spit at me. Sometimes people would walk by me and throw tin cans at me. And sometimes people would stop and listen and cry and say, you know, do you know how to play Brown Eyed Girl by Van Morrison? Or can you play, you know, can you play that song by Rod Stewart? And even to this day, you know, once a month I go to a local retirement home, and there are seniors there, many of them with dementia, and from month to month, sometimes they don't even remember me. But when I sing a Simon and Garfunkel song, or I sing a song by Bob Dylan, they literally cry and they remember the words to those songs, and it fills them with something. And that is a powerful, powerful, you know, when I went to the senior center and I sang them a carol that I wrote at Christmas time, which was rooted in the story of Maryam from the Quran. And there was one elderly woman in that group, the only woman in that entire group who was Muslim and who was from Pakistan. And she wept, and she was so pleased that here at this Christmas gathering, here's this skinny little man singing a song that with a story that she recognized from the Quran. So there are so many opportunities for you and for other people out there who want to share their music. The world is hungry for beauty, and there are so many ways that we can do it. We just have to stop being afraid to open our mouths and just sing out.
Wow. I mean, and that's a message that we ask this question to all of our artists that come on.
I think that's the most profound answer.
It is, isn't it? It's great. Yeah. And at the same time, you echo what everybody says. And I remember, we're talking about Raif now, and I remember he said, he always says to me, perfect your art. Do that first. Yeah. Perfect your art. Spend time. And, you know, we talk about mastery, and I think 50,000 hours before you are a master of your art. So, so that's an excellent answer. Thank you very much. Now,
well, and you know, and if I can just add one little thing, is that what people see, what they hear of my songs, or you know, is such a small part of the journey. You know, people who, you know, someone came to me at an event I was at last week, and I sang a song called "Dear God," which is very much
one of my favorites.
It's a real reflection on just how to find God when you feel really lost. And this young man, he said to me, you know, I've always wanted to write a song like that about how pathetic my life is. and now I feel like I've heard, and I laughed because he didn't mean any offense. But what he articulated was where that song came from in me. Yeah. The reason I can write a song, you know, about that quest is because I have stood on street corners and had children spit at me when I sang my songs. So when someone walks up to me and says, "Oh, brother Dawud, we love your songs so much. You know, I have a hard time really believing it, because I remember being spat on before and had tin cans, you know, thrown in my guitar case. So I know that just for everyone who shows their love, there's going to be many others who are going to spit. And so you can never take people's words, you know, for more than just words. Really, it has to be about you and your quest to try to bring beauty to the world with the help of Allah. That's really where it can begin. Don't allow yourself to be dejected, and don't allow yourself to be proud, because the dejection and the pride are all illusions. You know, it's just one foot in front of the other, inshallah.
Absolutely. Now, I've had the pleasure of attending your workshops over the last few years, a few of them in actual fact, and I would highly recommend them to those or anyone interested. So where and when can we expect to see you here in the UK during 2018?
Oh, this is a short answer. I have no plans right now. You know, I'm ready to come anytime.
I'm just going to quietly weep now.
But I do have people like you, Taqir, and of course some of our other dear friends in England. They're very talented songwriters that we both know, and I really am missing you.
I think they're listening in.
Yeah, I'm hoping that you know that even though I'm not as in touch as I should be, you're very much in my heart. And if I get any opportunity to come to England, I will jump on it, inshallah. So, but right now there are no definite plans to get over to England that I know of. So.
Okay, brilliant. Mashallah, that's awesome timing. We're just about to finish the show. We've got a minute left, so it's been a great pleasure to have you.
Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate that.
No, it's a great honor, and forgive me for talking so much.
No, it's brilliant.
I'm very passionate. I'm a very passionate guy, so
So that's definitely come through. That's what we wanted to hear.
Inshallah, yeah. Okay, great. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Dawud. Take care. Okay, I've just got one announcement. Inshallah, there's an event tomorrow, the recitation of the Quran by Sheikh Abu Bakr al-Shatri. That's in Peterborough at the Gladstone Park Community Centre. There are tickets available. You can either contact us on Salaam Radio or you can buy them at the door. There'll be a limited number of tickets at the door, and I think that would be a great event. I recommend that.
Definitely recommend it.
So, inshallah, we'll see you again next week. Please tune in, 9 o'clock, inshallah, for Friday Night Prime. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Stay tuned to Salaam Radio after this short ad break.
Salaam Radio presents a very special event, the recitation of the Quran.